Awesome. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Health Innovators. It's so glad to see you all this evening. I'm excited that you are excited about Chatbot and the possibilities Chatbot can offer you in whatever you're trying to do. I believe Chatbot could be a great engagement platform. I mean, Facebook is all about engagement, and we were interested in this technology because one of the biggest aspects which is lacking in healthcare is patient engagement. And we want to look at how we can use Chatbot to engage patients. For example, Armando here, he is a quit smoking expert. And how can we use Chatbot to encourage people to quit smoking? That is one use case. And the physician right here is a obesity expert, and how we can use Chatbot to engage the patient and make sure they are following whatever the physician wants them to follow. So with that being said, my name is Cal. I'm the founder of Health Innovators, and we are the intersection of healthcare and technology. Wherever we can use technology to impact healthcare, we would love to explore those technologies, and we want to be the first to try it out there in healthcare. Healthcare is usually lagging behind 10 years or 20 years. You would experience that once you go to a hospital or use any healthcare products or services. It's bad, and we're trying to use newer and latest and greatest technologies to solve healthcare problems. With that being said, I want to ask you if you have any questions so far. Okay, so let's go around the room and get to know each other and understand what was your motivation to come here, and hopefully Nivedita will help you accomplish all your goals and motivations of coming here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll pass it on to Nivedita.
Hi everyone, my name is Nivedita. You can call me Nivi. I think that'll be easier. I'm a recent grad from Northeastern. I just got my master's in computer science, and I jumped into chatbots about a month ago. I met Carl, and he said, "Why don't you build a chatbot?" I said, "Okay." And then I did my research and I got into it, and it's pretty cool. You feel so amazing when you talk to something and they respond back and it's not a human. It feels really nice. And I realized that it's actually really simple to set up something basic, because a chatbot is like literally just a set of rules. And if the user does this, you do this. If the user does this, you do that. That being said, there is an artificial intelligence part to it, which we will come to later. So that's basically, I've only been doing this a month. I'm nowhere an expert, but I can definitely get you guys started. And I think I will be able to answer beginner questions because I'm still having those questions myself. So that's about me. You guys can go around the room. I'd love to hear what you do, why you're looking to get into chatbots, what's the point of, how do you think your business or your startup or whatever could maybe use a chatbot in a regular day-to-day. So maybe you could start from here. Is that good?
Okay. Hello. My name is Giselle Pajuelo. I'm about to graduate and hold for a master in international marketing. And well, I'm very interested in customer service. I think it's the main thing that can lift your business or destroy it.
Sure. Yes.
And I am much more of a I'm a marketer much more in the strategic side, not in the tactic side. So I'm not a tech person.
Sure.
So I would like to learn.
Definitely. Awesome.
Hello everyone, my name is Oyen, and I'm also from Holt, and we're going to graduate next week. We're studying our master's in international marketing, and why I came here today is because I don't have any tech experience as such. So it would be nice to have something with the marketing, international marketing master's I'm doing. So that's why I'm here.
My name is Armando. My specialty is addictions. I work with actually any kind of addiction there is. My belief was that it has to do with your anxiety levels, and I can teach you how to lower that. So one of the products we have through Health Innovators is my quit smoking coach. And I'm hoping that the chatbot is something that's going to draw people to that site and last and stay longer at that site, because it'll be different. I don't believe there's a chatbot anywhere, a chatbox anywhere using Stop Smoking. So I'm hoping that'll work for there.
I didn't get your name. What was that?
Jezabel. Gesabel.
G
G.
G E
ESA.
E S A.
No, GESA. BEL.
Great.
I
Thank you.
think.
Rakesh, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm a computer engineering master's student at Northeastern University, and yeah, I basically like technical stuff and would like to learn more. And so,
Computer technical. What's that? What did you say?
yeah, I like to learn technical stuff and the more you learn, it's good.
Great.
I'm
Yes.
eager to know you guys, and it's great to know what Khan is doing in this space.
Until you move so fast and you have to keep on learning it, right?
Sure.
Mariana, go ahead.
My name is Mariana. I'm a student at WPI, and I started coming to these meetings this summer, and I was trying to build a chatbot for people with eating disorders, but I kind of got stuck. So this was like a perfect class for this.
Awesome.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Sabri. I go to Salem State University. I'm a computer science major. I have 1 year left, and I'm about to start an e-commerce business. The last time I came here, doctor told me that chatbots may help me develop the MVP,
Definitely.
minimal viable product, for me to start.
Sure. Yes.
My name's Chris. I'm a strategy consultant in healthcare, and digital health becoming much more important. So
Sure.
I'm interested to see where this goes.
Nice. Yep. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Felicia. I work in research and development. I have no coding experience whatsoever, so I'm very interested in learning and just improving my skills.
Awesome.
My name is Yolanda. I came here last week. I'm working in talent management. I'm interested in this innovation.
Hello.
Why didn't you tell them your idea?
Yeah, my idea.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
figuring
good.
out,
What?
I'm figuring out my idea. I'm just consolidate, about the healthcare. I just go on.
This chatbot would be great for your idea.
Yeah. Research and something like healthcare slash infertility slash dating and stuff. They don't know what to do. Okay? I still need to figure out my problem. Okay, or maybe it's not a problem. Okay.
The more you tell people your problem, you'll figure it out yourself.
Hello. My name is Jennifer. I'm a graduate of Northeastern University. I'm a friend of Nibby's as well. I work in a startup with CAD, not related to health, but technology is technology and has a lot of common points. Chatbots are really cool. I'm also creating a project for a whole new thing with a friend of mine, so this would probably help me in that space.
Awesome.
My name is Chi, and I work at Boston Medical Center. And my specialty is endocrinology and obesity medicine. So I'm interested in the application of data science and automation in healthcare in order to promote the cost-effectiveness in healthcare. So I think this will be exciting thing.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. It's great to see that people are coming from so many different backgrounds, and chatbots are definitely the place. Oh, we have somebody else. Hi. We just got introductions done, but you can come down and we'll hear about you. I'm Nivi. I'm going to be doing the workshop. We were just discussing why you want to learn about chatbots. Just anything about you would be good.
Hi. So I want to learn about chatbots because I think it's where the future is going.
Awesome.
And I see it all the time, so I want to learn how to do it.
Sure. What's your name?
Amara.
Amara. Amara, nice to have you.
What do you do? Consulting. Consulting in what?
Management consulting.
Nice.
Amara, right?
And
Oh, good. Thank you.
Awesome. Perfect. So I'm going to do a slideshow where I've kind of broken down everything from what is a chatbot, why are we actually using it, where does Facebook chatbots come into play, what other options do you have, and then we'll talk about what kind of chatbots actually exist. I've also pulled out data of what kind of chatbots not to make, so we have that covered as well. And then, no, I'm going to start now. And then we're going to basically jump into, hopefully, the last 45 minutes building our own chatbots. Let's see how that goes. Okay. I'm sharing it? Okay. I don't. You sure? Yeah. Just want to make sure that if anybody's seeing at home, they can watch the. Got it, Carl. Awesome. So first thing first, that's my email ID. You can reach out to me if you're doing this later on. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I can definitely help you find the answers. So you can take that down. The slide is also on the meetup page, so you have access to that. What we're going to do is we're going to learn how to build a basic chatbot in under 30 minutes. Now, first thing first, what is a chatbot? A chatbot is basically a computer having a conversation with you, and it's basically making you feel like you're talking to a human when you're not. Why do we need that? All of us know we've been on calls at customer support where you've been on hold for 20 minutes and it's just not going anywhere. I was on call with National Grid for a while. It was awful. And I just wanted to know something about my account number. Chatbots can fix that for you. They're there 24/7. You don't have to worry about a human actually always being there. So you save money and it's better engagement because people get responses faster. But why do we want them? So there's customer engagement, cost, 24/7 availability. How do we do this? Chatbots began not as a messenger or as a chatting mechanism. They started as an individual software that websites created as part of their web page. So if you went to Bank of America, they have their own chatbots. It's on their page. They built the whole chatting mechanism. So there's a server and a client. You type something, they respond. But in the last 3 to 4 years, it's gone from that to being available on every existing chatting platform. That means your WhatsApp has it, your regular iMessages have it, your messages have it, and Facebook Messenger has it, Slack has it. So those are all the frameworks you can use. Why use Facebook? Couple of years ago, Facebook acquired, or actually they started on an AI project, and that's where the idea for a chatbot framework that Facebook provides you started. So they're actually giving you everything. You kind of just have to write limited code, and they are giving you the ability to hook it up to any Facebook page that is your own business page. And then if I go to your business page, there's a message button that I need to hit, and you get your chatbot. And you don't have to set it up. They do it for you. So it's really easy. You have a really big user base. So when you start a chatbot on Facebook, basically anybody can search for that chatbot and they can chat to it. So you're getting the existing Facebook user base, which is huge. Dependability, Facebook takes care of the whole platform. You don't have to worry about it going down. If their server is down, they take care of it. You just need to make sure that your stuff is working. And brand. It's a big brand. I do not know if they're going to start charging for it in the future, but it's free right now. I do believe that if you go over 250,000 people or something, they start charging you. But to begin with, it's a great way to start. All right, so types of chatbots. We have two kinds of chatbots primarily. You have something called an intelligent chatbot and a dumb bot. Now, what does that mean really? A dumb bot is a rule-based bot. A rule-based bot is basically which the user doesn't really need to chat, but the user selects options that the chatbot has already created. So it's something along the lines of, what are you looking for? And then you provide a list of things. It could be shoes, like Tommy Hilfiger has one. So Tommy Hilfiger has a chatbot where they provide a menu to the user, and it says shoes, jackets, or accessories. And then the user just selects one of them, and then the chatbot displays things. So the chatbot essentially is guiding the conversation the way they want. The user is not free to write anything they're feeling like. Now, what's the use of that? That actually has a very large usage. Most of the companies don't really need a chatbot that can talk to your user about anything. If you're just trying to get your user to buy products, or if you're just trying to get your user to ask you questions that you already have the answers to, this is the perfect way to go about it. All you got to do is give them a list of things that they can pick from, and then lead them on, and then you reach an endpoint and say, okay, this is done. I'm actually going to quickly share with you. So this is the Tommy Hilfiger one. So like for example, can you see this? It's literally like options based. So the user is not going to be really talking too much. There will be simple things like what country are you from? So there's basic check on if the user types rubbish or it's not the right country, the chatbot gets back to you and say, sorry, that's not a country. But it's not, yeah.
So can you have a GPS location and input and get that?
It can be done, yes. We can do that.
So
Yep.
that's an intelligent.
No, this is a dumb bot.
A dumb bot.
So that's the thing. So an actual rule-based bot can do all this for you. You just need to define options for it. So it's literally like a flow chart. You start the conversation with the beginning menu. Yep.
Is it like buttons or do they type?
It's a mix of both. So you could have type, like let's say you have zip codes, you want to get a zip code. Like he said, you can have your location on, but you don't. You type a zip code. I will write a small code in my bot to see if it is a valid zip code in the US or not. But that's really tiny. It's literally, I mean, you have a limited number of zip codes, so it doesn't take you too long. Yep.
So I'm guessing it's asking for a specific answer.
Yes.
Which it can validate.
Yeah. So it's guiding you towards, it's basically guiding the conversation because it's not able to understand the intention of the conversation, which is what an artificial intelligence bot does. Now, this kind of a bot is very useful in customer service because you already have a list of FAQs or a list of things that you know that your customer support specialist can help you with. Even when you call up a customer support specialist, they already have a list of answers in front of them that they give you. So more often than not, they're going to be, if you ask them something that's not on their list, they're going to tell you, you know what, I'm going to have to get back to you. So that's what this does for you. I was reading about how a lot of people use artificial intelligence, even though it's not required. And that actually makes the experience worse for the user because the user just wants the answer quickly. They don't really want to have a conversation. You know, if they wanted that, they'd talk to their friend. So it's really not what they want. All right. Yes. Now, what does an intelligent bot do? So that's an AI-powered bot. Like, look at this. Reserve a table at 2 at Fire Nice, Boston for 7 p.m. tonight. Even this is actually very in detail. If you were to talk about, for example, you can train a bot so that you say reserve a table with Mark, and they would automatically book you a candlelight dinner because they know you're their partner. Do you know what I mean? There's a sentiment analysis. They're going to go through the data you give them and figure out what you mean by it, just the way we would have a regular conversation. So they would, if you talk to a bot and say, where is my shipment today? Based on the way you type, let's say you use a lot of exclamation points, you use capital letters, they're going to figure out that you're angry and you're upset. And they will try to calm you down. That is what an artificial intelligence bot does. They are used exclusively, not exclusively, but they started being used exclusively in therapies. There are suicide prevention helplines that do have bots on the side for people who have moved on but are still looking for therapy on the side. There's post-traumatic stress disorder bots. So it's all about conversation. It's all about figuring out how to communicate emotions with the user and get them to where they want to go. You can now use this, yes. The exact number, no, but like there are a lot. Because the thing with chatbots, I can Google it, but so that's the thing. There are a lot, but not all of them are doing well because 34,000. 34,000. So those are the ones that are public. So you can actually build, like we've been building, I've built like 4 bots already. But they're not public, so everybody can't be using those. They're just for trial and error. But you can actually officially launch it And then you can start advertising your bot. So it's a whole process. Now that's where Facebook starts making their money. Okay. Does anyone have any questions so far apart from this? Anything? Yes. No? Sorry. Yeah.
For those like the dumb bots, I saw a lot.
Yep.
Those intelligent one.
Yep.
Are they all like you know, you need to code, right? You know, certain or give us the automatic answer. How does it work? You need a database to get it work.
I'll tell you.
Or can I replace like it's sometimes dumb, sometimes artificial intelligence, sometimes like human intelligence. When I'm time, I want to go there to answer.
Definitely. Sure. So any bot that you build is essentially going to start off as a dumb bot, because you're going to essentially start out on simple things like if the user says hi, say hello.
Yeah.
Right. Then you plug it into an AI framework. Now, AI frameworks, I'm going to be talking about those in a bit, but these are the AI frameworks that I've kind of researched. They exist right now, and a lot of them have been built by third-party companies. So you don't actually have to code the framework at all. It's ready for you to use. An AI framework is essentially nothing but a database of words linked to sentiments. That's basically it. And the bot is using those to figure out what you're trying to say. Now, there's another part to it, which is a user-based database. What that means is there is an existing words list that all of us will react to in the same way. But there is also a small part of it which is specific to a person. For example, what kind of music do I like when I'm sad? Is different from the kind of music you like when you're sad. And that is something that you need to code using these frameworks. So once you write the code for it, the bot learns, and the bot adds it to the user database. So it becomes two data banks that they're using. They're going to use this for the general sentiment. Like if somebody got hurt, you know that they're in pain. That's a general sentiment. But what do they want to eat when they're in pain is not a general sentiment. Everybody has their own different foods. Yes?
So you're saying artificial AI bots are primarily built on sentiment analysis?
Yes, primarily completely based on sentiment analysis and literally mapping of words. This word is good, this word is bad, this word is pain, this word is happiness. It's as simple as that. But it's a very large database. It's like 50,000 words, 100,000 words that have been worked on.
Sentimental analysis also understands the emotion behind
Yes.
Yes. Positive word, negative word. Is the user, like you said, happy or angry or whatever.
Yep. So that's where the bot learns. So what the bot essentially, the basic background will be that if I'm chatting with the bot and the bot takes the list of words I gave him, first thing they do is they get rid of the unnecessary words. So they'll get rid of a, they'll get rid of the, all of that. Then they'll try to hit the database and see, do the other words exist? If they exist, it helps them get some context. Let's say none of them exist in the database. Then they start hitting the user-based database. Now, if it exists in that, then they get more context. If it doesn't exist in that altogether, then they sometimes ask the user, does this make you mad? Because they have to build a connection. It's exactly the way our brain works. We make a connection, and then we have it for life. So that's exactly how it works, yes.
Are these databases cultural specific?
So I think I was reading online how they're being made more specific, more general. So you don't have to worry about having a database that would only work in the States and would not work in Asia, for example. But initially they did start being culture specific, like they were being built because you don't have exposure and stuff like that. But they have become much more robust. So you don't have to use different frameworks. You just, if you set up your bot and you're using one of these, it's going to, because as you can see, all of them started individually. They've all been bought by Google, Facebook, Microsoft. So these companies are now, they've been known to deal with multicultural, no location but data. And all of them have collected a lot of our data already. I mean, Google knows everything about you. They know you're here right now. So, so does Facebook, so does Microsoft. So they know everything about you.
That's true. They know if I watch something on Amazon. They know if I book a flight 1 month ago. And last month I was surprised because I have no idea, but I haven't realized how powerful was Google until a few months ago, because it was appearing flight from Lima to this specific day, and I was like, Whoa.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly how it is. I had my parents visit me last time, and the time before that they were there, we went to specific restaurants, and I actually had Google ping me saying, your parents are here, do you want to go back to where you went last October when they had a flight? And I'm like, whoa, that's creepy. And we did go back because we liked that place, and Google reminded us about it.
Yes, thank you.
But that was so creepy.
So as part of the license to use these, basically you're giving your users interactions to.
So yes, if you're using any chatting platform that exists, you are technically sharing the data anywhere. For example, Facebook has access to everything that's being written on Facebook Messenger. So does WhatsApp. So does Instagram. Everything. That is why things like Bank of America have their own chatbot, because they own that data.
Yeah.
They're not going to be using Facebook, because then Facebook can read what their users are saying.
But then you're saying that I also have access
Yes.
implicitly to your user information.
No.
So not me, but the AI that I'm
Yes.
licensing.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what you get.
pulls
Yeah.
your data.
That's what you get.
That's why the American government wants to have access.
They already
to-
have access.
They
We
already
just
have
don't know
access.
about it, but they
Is
probably
it
do.
true that they can see us throughout
I have no idea.
this? Because I've seen some people that cover their
That's where you put your
camera.
Trump sticker.
Yeah. That,
No, it's
I used to
crazy.
have a lab which used to be that way. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Everyone
have
in
a
the
friend
lab I
who-
worked did the same thing. Yes.
I'm assuming the question everyone wants to ask is, especially with health, it's going to be sensitive information. Would people want to be sending that information?
Sure.
How do you advise people to use Facebook chat for that?
Yeah. So
I can
that's
talk a little bit about that,
sure.
since it's helpful.
Yes. Let's do that.
As far as patient is disclosing anything on Facebook, more than I would say, the patients see that they're asking a question, then it's fine.
So it's considered you're asking in a public forum, so you're usually fine with your information being known.
Yes, but as an organization, what we do with that data, we can use it like Google or something like that and sell it to other people.
Okay.
Because we, as an organization, we have so many rules on what to do with that data. It's highly private information. Because healthcare data sells 10 times or 50 times more than a credit card information.
50 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So people want better rights.
Okay.
You can only send de-identified. You can't send.
Sure, there's a way to get around it, but if you get leaked, then you'll check it. It's down.
Right, so like Truven is a huge healthcare database.
Yes.
They pull from Fortune 500 companies
Yes.
the claims data,
Yes.
and that's all de-identified.
Yes. We can do
On
that.
their side, they can definitely track it back to what company did what, but
Yes.
we can't see that as a customer.
You're right.
Right, so like the data that somebody might share on Facebook might just be like, oh, I have a cough today, or just came back from chemo. They probably would not be selling their
Name and
healthcare ID number, right? Because that stuff
Okay.
like that sells for 50 times more on the black market than
Yeah.
like a credit card information.
That's exactly what and so that's another part of the chatbot, where if you want to be talking about things like account numbers, or you're talking about monetary things that you there are ways to make sure that you can just have a check where the user says, okay, I can't be dealing with this. The chatbot says that I can't be helping out with this, but you can call up this number. So you can give it a mix and match to do that. So I'll come back to that. Let me just quickly talk about the challenges, because I think these are really important. And once we know what we're getting into, is when you can make really good decisions. First thing is human-like. The problem with trying to make chatbots human-like is that you overcompensate, and that makes a lot of people really uncomfortable. Like, for example, the Tommy Hilfiger chatbot, it failed because it was too nice, and it was too involved. So I've actually read about it, and people were like, this is creepy. Like, this dude is talking to me like he knows me, but he doesn't. Like, people didn't like it. So you have to kind of figure out where to draw the line, do a lot of user experience research, have people come in and talk to the chatbot for a couple of hours to get that out there.
I thought the chatbot was hitting on them. Is that what
oh gosh, that would be bad. Engagement. So now the point of a chatbot is to keep people engaged. When you're trying to sell something, it's difficult because it could get annoying. So you again have to figure out where the line is drawn. I've been using a couple of bots on Facebook. Like there's a meditate bot. It reminds you to meditate every day. And there are days that I'm having bad days and I don't want to be reminded, so I get really annoyed. And then there are days that are good days where I feel like, oh yeah, meditation time. So it's not really the bot's decision to figure out that I don't feel like it today, but there has to be a way to do it. There are a couple of other bots which are pretty annoying. They send you 5 reminders a day. That's just not something you want to get into. So that's first. And there's something called primary paths. They're basically a flowchart of what you want to do before you start building something and being able to achieve an entire. It's basically that you start here and you have different directions that you want the conversation to go in. And you've got to find the end point, because if you don't find the end point, you don't reach a goal. There's a goal for every engagement path. One goal would be that you get the user to buy something. One goal could be that you get feedback from the user about the product they bought last time. One could be that you get the user to create a new calendar entry. So you've got to actually create these out and be able to differentiate between all of them and handle them differently. Third part is AI and where to stop. First thing, you need to figure out whether you need an AI. That's the first thing. You probably don't. If you're still figuring out, you probably don't. An AI is something that you would know you want, because you're not going to be able to break it up into if this, then this, else this. So that's your first step. If you do figure out about AI, you got to figure out what platform you want. A lot of the platforms are free to begin with, but as soon as you start getting bigger, they start costing a lot more money because they know they're making you money. And you have to know where to stop. So for example, there's a Microsoft chatbot. It went on a racist, genocidal Twitter rampage and was shut down. So people started teaching them Nazi stuff, things like that, and it went full on crazy. And Twitter actually lost a lot of, Microsoft actually lost a lot of followers and stuff like that. It got really bad. So you've got to know when to put a stop to this. You can pass all the data you get. Watch out for keywords, stay away from it, So don't talk about race, don't talk about, unless that's the point of the conversation, but then you still need to know where to draw the line. Yes.
So who would be good for, or what circumstance would be good for using an AI chatbot?
I think an AI chatbot, in my head, the way I read about it, is useful when you're looking to engage and understand an emotion of the user, apart from things like direct, make money, get feedback. So for example, if you, I've used a therapy chatbot. I've seen what a therapy chatbot looks like. And that's pretty useful because the user is just trying to have a conversation. They're not really looking for an endpoint. So as soon as you can't find an endpoint, you know that you need an artificial intelligence bot just to take, or doctors also sometimes. There are these kind of bots where the doctors can, they can't help you get to the medicine and all that. It's not that line, but just help you figure out, feel better, have you taken your medicine today? They say, yeah, but I didn't really like it. So then you know that, okay, they didn't really like it. And you just have a conversation with them to soothe them down. It's just along those lines. But it's very important to know that your AI should not advise, whether it's helplines or whatever. There is an article about how there was a therapy bot which started advising, and that went down a really bad road because you don't want, if somebody is under depression or they're borderline suicidal, you really don't want a computer advising them to do anything. So that's very important. You've got to figure that out. And now therapy bots actually give you that. So if they feel like you're, let's say, close to suicide, they'll actually tell you, please call 911. Do you want me to call 911 for you? And you can immediately call 911 from your phone. So, but it does that gently and not in a way that's pushy. Yeah. So that's basically it. Any other questions?
So just because you might need natural language processing,
yeah. So Facebook is providing you NLP already. That's the thing. Their platform already has NLP in it, at least the basic natural language processing. So does everybody know what natural language processing is? Natural language processing is like being able to read what a normal person is writing and be able to figure out what they're saying, but it is not essentially, hi.
How was it?
I'm saying natural language processing.
Oh, natural.
So being able to understand what the user is saying and make out, or if somebody's like speaking, let's say you're using a mic to talk, being able to convert that to text and be able to get context, but not really sentiment and stuff like that. The meaning behind it, so you know the intent behind it is not. Yeah, and Facebook gives you that. They have an NLP framework already in place. It's not the best, but it's good enough. Okay. So this is the AI platforms. They're all free to begin with. The WIT.ai was not Facebook's; it was somebody else's, and they brought it over. And once they bought it, they made it amazing. It's practically very good. And then they kind of built their messenger to work with that. So it's very well integrated. So if you're just starting out, it would be a good place to start. The documentation is in place and all of that, and Facebook can help you. Yep. Market leader right now. So Microsoft is very well trusted. Oh, sorry. People who are building their own chatbots are using Microsoft because they apparently provide you with the most services and the most ability to do things. It's been very well thought out, and it works with all of these. Can you see Slack, Facebook, web chat, all of these? So Microsoft is definitely the winner.
I think we work on cognitive services that way, right? From Microsoft.
Nice. Yeah, everybody talks about how Microsoft is really good with like their their FAQs or their documentation is also really, really good quality. And I think even Google and Facebook are kind of lagging behind when it comes to that. I've used a lot of Google documentation. I mean, I don't know how many of you worked with Android. It's the worst documentation. It's really painful. Facebook is slightly better, but you can't beat Microsoft just because of how big the company is and the way they've kind of partnered with so much. But theirs is partly paid, so you would start off free, then move into a paid thing. So, sorry?
Is Apple not providing Siri?
I think Apple is, how Apple is. They kind of get into the market a little later, but then everybody just moves there. That's been their strategy for years. They have just about started, and Amazon also just about started, but they're nowhere to being the top. I think Apple is also not providing the framework to be able to do other things. So you can't be configuring it with everything else at the moment.
Yeah, as far as I know, Apple develops products for itself.
So it's gonna do, it's gonna do for itself, and then maybe provide you with plugins for everything else just as a side. But it's also harder to pick up, right, because of the way Apple development works. So these are the top contenders. If you go on the slides, they're all linked to the website, so you can go take a look at the documentation for yourself if you think that you need this. Yes. Oh, sorry, I thought you had a question. Okay, so now we're going to dive into a little bit of JavaScript, figure out what that is. I haven't really, I would love to talk about the coding part of it. If you want, I could do like a quick crash course, just telling you what coding in JavaScript looks like. Or we could look at the actual code and we'll go from there. We can do a poll on that because I know we're a mix of people who are complete beginners and people who have some experience. And I would like to really, engage both of you. So I leave that to you, but I can help you figure out. Let me go through this and then we can talk about it if you want. I can just run you through basics. So what is JavaScript? It's not Java. Let's be very clear. I thought it was for many years when I was younger. It's not. It's basically the language that makes your websites do stuff. So when you go to a website and you click a button and something happens, that's JavaScript. I'm guessing most of you heard of HTML and CSS. That is the semantics and the looks, but JavaScript's what's making things happen. You click on a button and something opens up. That's JavaScript. So JavaScript is what is giving any kind of user engagement to a website. Now, over the years, it's evolved into much more than just that. You can actually write entire servers in JavaScript. So now you can have a complete website written entirely in JavaScript with a database at the back. That's it. So you can be a JavaScript developer and make a whole working product.
So it's a specific language.
Yes, so it's a programming language. which started off as being very specific to front end. Okay, how many people here understand front end, back end clearly, what the distinction is? So for everyone else, I'll kind of give you what it means. Front end is what is user-based, what the user sees of your product. So it's like the form, you know, when you log in, you have a form. That's your front end. It's usually only deals with the way things look and what will happen when the user actually interacts with them. Password, the server is which is what is checking that is that correct or not, and coming back to the front end and the page changes. JavaScript was essentially just a front end language, and then it evolved from that into a full-blown application language where I have built many products completely full stack, completely in JavaScript. I'm getting into Python now. Like I said, JavaScript and Python, both of them are right now the most powerful languages in the world. There's a lot of contention about it. You have JavaScript people saying that Python's better, Python's thing, but they are the most hired for technologies in the world at the moment. And yeah, so this is essentially what we're going to be using because Facebook lets you build their messengers in anything. You can do JavaScript, you can do Python, PHP, Ruby on Rails. There's a lot of stuff. This is the easiest to pick up. It's very easy to read. So it should be easy for you to understand what I'm talking about. What is Node.js? Node.js is essentially a framework for the backend, which uses JavaScript. So Node.js was built using JavaScript so that if you wanted to write server code and read things from databases, update things from databases, you could just write it in JavaScript. It is advised that you use it for small to medium-sized applications only because the way Node.js is architectured, it could get really buggy if you have, like, Amazon would not have a server in Node.js. Let's put it that way. But if you have a small-sized product, it could work very well, and it does for a lot of companies. So you make that choice based on how you want to approach and how you want to move. It has a package manager. Package manager is essentially you need other files to make it work. It handles all that for you. So you don't have to worry about doing it on your own. So that's why it's great. This is what it looks like, and this is JavaScript. If there's any issue, let me know.
Which one is?
So this is written in JavaScript. The language you use in Node.js is JavaScript. I'll run you through it, so don't worry. But this is what it looks like. Const is constant. Constant is basically anything that you do not change. A variable is something that you change. So your username would change. Username could change that the user entered. They could log in with another username. But the value of pi, for example, would always remain the same. So now everybody knows what HTTP is. It's essentially what we use on the web. It's what we're using for communication on the web. So Node.js is a server which is expecting things from the client. That means that they need to have a mechanism to communicate between each other. We use HTTP because that's what is used in the market, and that's the best protocol out there. And you have HTTPS. Yes. Yeah. So we also have HTTPS. Here I've used HTTP, that's fine. But it essentially is, HTTPS is HTTP secure. So that's just making sure data is encrypted. A host name is essentially the name of your machine. It's basically setting up where the communication is going to happen. A port is really just a port number. And this is what you see when you see a website which says www.google.com. It has a host name and a port name at the back. Yep.
I have a question. So
Sure.
This is like great for development on your laptop.
Yes.
So what if you have your own, you go professional and you have your own
Sure.
website? What would the host name and port name be like then?
So this host name right now refers to a local host, which essentially means a host of your machine. And when you would host it on a server, it would use the local host of the server.
Okay.
So like it's going to work on that fine. Okay. Unless you have multiple things running on a server, which doesn't usually happen. You're going to have one server which is going to be serving the whole application.
Okay.
So this will work there.
So this host name server, which is the same as port.
Port
Or
is literally a number, like you could
a
have,
number.
you have a lot of ports in your system. So for example, let's say you're printing something. When you print something, that print command is sent to the printer using a specific port. And now if you try to run your server on that port, it would tell you it's busy. So it's just literally like a lot of points for you to use. This is a, sorry, I thought you had a question. This is a very specific number. You can use whatever you want, but you can go with this. This works. Now, this is the code to create your server. A server is essentially going to take a request, which is what the client sends you. When the client sends you a hello, it's a request. And you send them a response back, which is a hi. So this is how you set up your server. You have a request and a response. A status code is, if you ever go into your Chrome, you'll notice, I can show you actually right now. So if this is, sorry? I'm sorry, I have no idea about the SEO.
Moving forward, everything to be secure.
Yeah, I mean, I normally for all the, so this is specific to the Messenger service where you're actually not setting up a website, you just have your Messenger working. But when I use app development and stuff, I usually use HTTPS because it's just always safer to have your data encrypted. Yeah.
That's what Google wants.
So if you come here and you go to, so this is pretty cool. If you go to the network, you'll see, can you see these are actually, so we went inside Chrome and we went to something which is a console for developers. This is what you use a lot of when you're making websites. The network tab actually shows you things that are being sent to the network and what you're getting back in response. And you get a status. 200 is okay. 404 is not. You must have seen 404 sometimes. You hit a website, it says 404. That means, yeah, exactly. Okay. So that's an error status code. And this is a good status code.
Anything which starts with a 4 is an error. Anything which starts with 2 is usually.
Yeah, yeah. There's like a whole list of them: 2s, 3s, 4, and 5. Yeah. So that's what this is. You're basically creating the server, and if you get a request, you will give it a response of 200, which means all okay. You set a header. A header is essentially just what kind of data you're exchanging. So it's text. And you're sending a response which says hello world. That's it. This could be anything. This is just to set it up. And then your server now starts listening. You created a host name and a port. Now your server is waiting that as soon as somebody comes and hits me up and they say something, I'm going to say hello world. That's it. So your server is constantly listening on that port for requests coming in. And that is essentially how servers work. You know, when if you're using MSN, if you're using WhatsApp, anything, they're basically listening and waiting for people to write something so that they can do something with it. So this is basically how you would set up a very basic server. Now, once this was set up, you could actually start chatting with the server. The server would keep giving you hello world every time you send it a response. And this is Node.js framework. So Node.js defines how you write the things, but they're written in JavaScript. So this language is JavaScript. Would you want me to go through JavaScript basics? I mean, we could do a poll if you want, because I don't want you guys to be lost when we're going through the tutorial.
You could do a 3-hour class on JavaScript basics.
That's true. That's probably true. Okay, we'll go through the. I'll take you through the tutorial that I have, and we can answer questions while we're doing that.
We can go through the ones that you're going to touch upon today.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll go through exactly that. These are the tools that we're going to be using. So we have a Facebook developer console. Once you have a Facebook login, you basically go there and create your apps. So you create a messenger chatbot from there. Heroku. So Heroku is essentially where your service will be hosted. It's like, have you heard of AWS, Amazon AWS? Yep. So it's essentially what is going to host it. When I say host, I mean your website is basically live, so anyone can use it. It's running there forever. If I just run the server on my machine, it's only my machine that can talk to myself, right? But if I want you to use it, I need it to be somewhere in the cloud so that when you hit that IP address, it's able to talk to you. That is done by hosting. AWS is great. I've used AWS before, but you kind of have to do a lot of configuration. Heroku is awesome because they do everything for you. You just create the URL that you want. and you push code to it, and it keeps it for you, and it makes it run. So all you got to do is then use that URL and distribute it to people and work.
So is that just hosting with Heroku?
It's, I mean, I've only done hosting with Heroku. I'm not an expert. I'm sure it does a lot of other things. It's pretty intense.
Default is Heroku.
Yeah, they want you to use Heroku.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they've kind of set it up together. But yeah, I mean, I think they've also done a very good job of the way it's working out. Like it's very minimal configuration. You really just need an app name. That's pretty easy.
Are there integration advantages? Like
Yeah.
Let's say you're using Amazon Lex, which is their AI.
Yeah.
Are you going to benefit from using Amazon Web Services for
Sure.
their hosting?
Yep. Yeah, I think they're trying to push for Heroku, but I do know people who use Amazon AWS because they want to do things their way, and they want to, configure stuff the way they want. But if you're setting up something basic, this works great. It's really easy. Again, if you're not somebody who's too much of a coder, you're not looking for the hassle. I can code and I still don't look for the hassle, so it's fine. We're using Git and GitHub for version control. Version control is essentially keeping track of changes in your code. So if you change something today and you push it to that, tomorrow if a teammate of yours comes back to it, they're going to be able to see things that you changed. And you can also go back to your previous version, which is great. And database. So now Heroku and Facebook push for MLab. I don't know if how many of you know do you know what MongoDB is? Has anybody heard MongoDB? Okay. So we know what SQL is. SQL databases. They're older, standard. MongoDB is another form of database where you don't have tables. It's free-flowing data. It's chunks of data that you just have available to you. So it's a completely different philosophy of data. MLab, yes.
I mean, Chatbot is transactional, right?
Yes,
Wouldn't
it could be.
Make sense to use a relationship database instead of MongoDB.
I don't think so because
You're not storing blurb of information.
no, you are actually. The way you get information from Facebook, it's going to be a huge JSON where you'll have the user details, the timestamp. So it's literally just a big JSON with the conversation they had, the post back they posted, everything. So you actually get a big blurb.
I have to answer your question. I think the whole technology field, at least where I'm seeing, is moving towards non-relational databases.
Yep.
They only use relational databases where the transactions are very secure. For example, banking transactions. You don't want your account to be debited twice. No one wants that. Those scenarios, yes, where your security matters. You do not want security in Facebook. You don't want your Facebook feed to be. You want to be faster. You don't care if the same post appears twice, which it rarely happens, but it's not going to be a security issue. I think chatbots fall into the same thing. A lot of things don't need that much security. It's a lot faster with MongoDB.
And you can use both.
It's faster because it's not indexed.
Yeah, there's a whole way of dealing with it. So the way you work, I can't draw on this, right?
Right here, you can draw.
Okay, so I'll quickly show you how this looks because I worked a lot. I worked more with Mongo than with SQL. I don't like SQL, but that's just the impact there. Yeah. So a MongoDB, like one row or one collection of MongoDB is going to look like this. That's it. This is one thing. Second thing, would say that's it. It doesn't even have tables. All of this will be stored in one database. Now, when I try, and let's say we have 90, that's unique. Now, when I need to go
That's the
inside,
whole point, right? Because it's not normalized, the response time can be slower.
no, so that's the interesting part.
Yeah.
Okay.
The speed comes because of copies of data as well. One of the major issues about any web thing is latency. And if you have a copy of the database right next to you, and you don't care if it takes, for example, you get data and you make changes to one, and that makes changes to the other database later on, you don't care about consistency immediately, then the speed comes because for example, India has its own database, or America or New York has its own database. So it's much faster.
So you're talking about a distributed database platform.
It
Distributed
is.
servers. That is distributed
It is.
servers.
I can show you this. We have a table. And that will be there's a key here, which will link to another table. Now, there are two things. One is that SQL does the work for you. It comes here, finds this key, comes here, finds the same key, finds this information, and sends it to you. This will be done by SQL, your database. The second thing is, you have a server which goes to Mongo and just gets the whole log and then does the whatever you want to do. It's essentially happening in the same way. Here the SQL says, go here, then pick this, then join this, then get this. Or the server gets the whole line and then just picks what they want to do. Now why is this faster? Because SQL databases tend to get much larger, joining them and pulling things take much longer. Here, because you can search on any column, any thing anywhere, you get stuff much faster, and now servers are getting faster. You can have really good quality servers written. So if they get, let's say, 2 JSONs for the name Cal, you're going to have to write just Python or JavaScript code to figure out which of the IDs match. And that's much faster than going to SQL, finding the join, getting the ID, and that. That's why this is faster. But I'm not saying this is better, always. There's a reason why you would use that, and you can use a combination of both in your chatbot. You could have, you could be using this for storing your conversation and things that are happening, and as soon as the user wants to buy the product, you have your transaction database or whatever it is. Actually, you use an API, you use a third party to kind of buy things. So you don't have to do that. But if you want to save the credit card, you can have a transaction database on the side. That's fine. So it could be a combination, and it could work quite well.
So to summarize, tell me if I get it right.
Sure.
Instead of each time, for example, if I want an information from a book, each time instead of pulling a page, I will download the whole book one time and search faster.
No, so not even the whole book.
Chapter.
The way, yeah, like a chapter. But it's still faster because based on how much information is in the chapter, there would be times that the chapter just slips down.
Yeah.
It would happen really quickly. More often than not, that does happen. Another advantage of non-relational databases are that you don't have to necessarily fill everything. What that means is this could be name, ID, address, phone number, and this could just be name and ID, and that works. So it works in a world where things are not perfect, which happens all the time. So yeah.
And another question. So if I created a chatbot on Facebook, can I use it on other applications like WhatsApp or Instagram?
You
or is
could
it just limited for that?
You could use the similar kind of, you could use your same code bank, but you would have to fix, like, I don't know the process of how you, I don't think WhatsApp and all provide you with a platform to create a chatbot. So you have to probably host it individually and then figure out the WhatsApp API to put it together. So
what about Instagram? Would that also work?
I don't know if Instagram is doing chatbots at the moment, actually. But they probably will. I mean, if Facebook owns
They
it.
will. They're testing it on Messenger. Once it works, the
They're
next
doing
thing they'll go to WhatsApp and Instagram.
I've actually heard that WhatsApp and Facebook are going to pretty much combine pretty soon. Like WhatsApp and Instagram, WhatsApp and Facebook will not be separate. That's what I've heard.
Facebook owns WhatsApp.
Yeah, but they're different applications. They're working on bringing the two user bases together in a level that they will not be two apps. It will be one app. It's pretty crazy. So yeah.
Earlier, Messenger can be used on Facebook application itself, but now it's not able to use. You need to download Messenger.
Oh, really? They
Yeah.
supported that?
Yeah.
So that's where the push is going on. Facebook Messenger.
And the whole reason these chatbots are rising because people have realized that people are spending more time on Messenger than Facebook platform itself.
That's true.
And that's why that's why this chatbot is becoming crazy. It's crazy because people are more on Messenger platforms, spend more time on Messenger platforms now than on Facebook itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming to our point, look at the last point. It says you can use any database.
writing AI framework, we have something called MLab, which is essentially MongoDB for you, but it's on the cloud. So you don't actually have to set it up on a server. You actually have a cloud. You go to mlab.com or whatever the website is, and actually just log in, create a database there, and you're anywhere in the world, it works for you. So it's on the cloud. And there's amazing integration with Heroku and Fig. So like, I'm telling you, they're working in a group. But yeah, which is great. It's good for us. So yeah.
I think now we can kind of start diving in. These are some statistics I have. Just you can see how everybody's on the bandwagon. Microsoft, Facebook, Shopify. Everybody's, you know, buying things and then changing it and launching it. 4 minutes saved off your traditional call center call if you're using a chatbot. That's a lot of time. And
I save 4 minutes, or they save 4 minutes of customer service time.
Customers are saving 4 minutes of this thing, which is a lot of time. I feel. I mean, I've spent 10 minutes on call, and also that saves you a lot of time.
I think this is the value proposition for the businesses. As a business, if you want to build a chatbot, then you're going to save 4 minutes of your, you know, a real person's time. That is very valuable.
Yeah.
You save 8 minutes.
What's that?
You save 8 minutes.
Both of the customer and
Yeah.
but the customer waiting time is free.
No, their waiting time is not free because it creates anger.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I don't know anybody that's going to stay in the line 4 minutes and wait.
And this is the average cost saved per chatbot interaction in 2022. So because it's only been around for 3 years, but this is what they're expecting it to be for banking-based bots. We'll see how it works for everything else. But it's a lot of money. And they're projecting it to really like, yeah.
How does the chat box change if you're doing it for banking, for a financial institution?
I think a chatbot changes when you're doing for banking. Like, I mean, I don't know exactly, but I'm thinking how would they make money or how would they save money? It could be things like, yeah.
So the question was, how would businesses make money on this?
No.
Specific.
How does the chat box development?
Oh, the development. Yeah, I can answer that. So right now, everything we've been talking about has been using other bot platforms. They've been using Facebook. And when you're doing it for banking, you're not going to do that. You're going to build your own. So you're going to write your own server completely. You will probably not even use Heroku. You'll probably set up your own AWS. And security is really important. That's where we're going to be probably banking. I don't think they're going to use Mongo at all. So they're going to be using something more specific, SQL, a lot of information, because unfortunately, when you're in a banking atmosphere, if I want to call up, that's fine. Everything is on, everything's on Meetup as well. So all the links for the tutorials are there. You can just follow along, drop me an email if you want something. Thank you. Yeah, so you know, that's another part that the database is going to pretty much differ a lot. And security is a very big problem there. You cannot have anything leak at all. So it would be very different. Okay, awesome. So this is done. Now we can move on to funner things. So first things, can everybody get to the Meetup page? Because that's where I shared all the information. Are you guys on the Meetup?
I am not in the Meetup.
Yeah, there's a CIC Wi-Fi. You can just get on it. It's free.
Where's the
Meetup? Just go to meetup.com and you will have the Health Innovators page.
Just Google Health Innovators on Google and you'll see the Meetup page.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, not that.
CIC.
CIC is open.
Yeah, CIC is open.
CIC network is open for Wi-Fi.
So here's the thing. When you do a Facebook Messenger chatbot for Windows, it goes up to an hour. I'll tell you why. Because NodeJS and NPM were essentially built on Linux systems, and they were built to work with Linux. That's fine. The only reason it takes slightly longer is configuration. That's it. So once you get that step done, and you're building a chatbot after that whenever, you're going to be able to do it as quickly. It's really because their file system is different and you have to install things, and there's a lot of things you need to get done. So that's the only reason, but the part of it where you build the chatbot is the same time. So that's like 15 minutes to really set it up. It's the configuration that takes longer. So I've put both of these on the meetup page. Are you guys on the meetup page? To the meetup page?
I'm at the meetup page, but
okay, so yeah, so if you come down, I have this, and you have the Windows tutorial. So we're gonna pick out the Windows. Everybody who's, do you guys want to pair up and do this? Because I don't know if you're gonna finish all of it, or I could run you through the tutorial and you can ask me questions. Just because everyone's gonna be at different speeds. That's basically why. What do you want me? Do you want me to run you through the tutorial? Yeah. Okay. Sure, so I'll run you through the Windows tutorial because the guys who are using Mac will be able to understand, translate what's going on. Did everybody find the page?
I have it here.
So you can download 4 softwares.
Yes. So we need these. You don't need Visual Studio really. Visual Studio. So I'll tell you what this is.
He has a Windows machine, so Visual Studio is built into it, right?
I'm not sure. I don't think these ones have it. Those probably do. Yeah. So like I told you, we have Node.js. We have GitHub, Heroku, and Visual Studio.
The code and tutorial, right?
This is?
The code and tutorial?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, for the Windows, you're going to have to go to the Windows one. There's a Windows tutorial separately. Yeah, so Visual Studio is basically where you'll be writing your code. You don't have to use it. There are many other things that you can use. Visual Studio is just really compatible with Microsoft. It's a Microsoft thing, so it's easier to use. We set up our Node.js. You download it from here. It's easily available. If you're on a Mac, you can brew it, or you can, you probably already have it if you've been doing it. And then, so you download it from here. When you download Node.js, it will download for you Node.js and NPM. Set it up on your machine. On Windows, it sets it up at the default root path, so it's accessible throughout. Visual Studio, easy to download. GitHub.
So which one would you say we should download then?
You have to do both. I mean, you have to do Node.js. You don't have to do Visual Studio. But it's the software you use to code in. So it's a nicer thing for Windows. It works really well for Windows. I don't think you need it for Mac at all.
So which one?
So which one is it? Because when we downloaded the Node, it says
go for 8.4. When you go to Node.js, you have 2 options. Get the 8 point upwards because Heroku only works with Node.js 8 point upwards. So
no. Download. No. This one.
This one.
No.
This one.
Okay. Oh.
And I did put a note out there. I don't know if anybody signed up for Git and Heroku, because that just makes things easier. Should I keep going on? Is everybody downloading stuff or?
Downloading stuff.
That's why I dropped in message yesterday. I was like, everyone should get this.
I don't think so we can wait for everyone.
Yeah, I think I can just go through it once and then we'll come back if we have time. Now, what are we doing? The basic concept is that once you download this, you actually want to download the packages that you're going to be using to build. It's as simple as that. What we do is we create a new folder. You can do it in a root if you want in Windows. Just go create a new folder, call it the name of the chatbot that you want. In Mac, anywhere you want, as long as you know where you are in the terminal, should be good. Create it, and then we install NPM. So you have basically NPM is the node package manager that I told you about. And what we're doing here is ensuring that you have the most updated version of it. That's it. So it's available for you to use. Once you have that, you have to basically create a node project. That's what npm init does. It defines that this folder is a node project. The way you would do this in your Windows is, do you know what command prompt is? Okay, so if you go to your start button, like where you can search for stuff, yeah, you can just type out cmd in the search bar. cmd.
Command prompt?
Yes, so you get command prompt. This is where you're going to be doing all these typing. So these things that I'm showing you, npm init, for example, that's command prompt. This is where you're going to type. What command prompt does is basically gives you access to your file system, and then you can write scripts there to manipulate the file system. So you want to create a new file, for example. You want to create a new directory, you can directly type into your file system. Then we need to install a bunch of dependencies. These are all that we're using. An express is basically being used for Node.js. Request is the request and response we spoke about. You get a request. And a body parser is what you will use to understand what the user gave you. When the user gives you data, it's a huge blob of data. You actually need to parse it to make sense of it and make it English. That's what the body parser is.
So on our computer system, where do we save this node?
Leave it on the standard that it is. It will do it on the root. So just keep saying next, next, next. You don't need to actually change anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Install?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the best way to do it. When you don't know what to do with it, put everything on the root. It's available everywhere. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the main file that we're using, which is your index.js. What is the index.js? That is the file which is going to do the actual coding and going to handle all the requests from the user. If you go into my the first link, which is the tutorial link, you will be able to see an index.js file, and I've written the code here. You can see the code. So this is by a guy called Nick, and his tutorial is what I use to understand what he's talking about. If you're confused where this is, I can show you where it is. It's on the tutorial meetup, code and tutorial. That's where your code is available. The first part of it should be familiar. We spoke about this earlier. We basically, okay. So we got everything that we needed. Our request, our body parser, and express. These are nothing but your objects. You just loaded them into the object, and you set out your port and your. So yeah, okay, wait. I can explain to you what this is. All of this is pretty standard stuff. You don't have to actually know what was written, but what is essentially happening is that it is setting the port number as either the environment port number or 5000. All it means is that if 5000 is not available, it'll move to something else. Body parser is what is going to pass your body of the message that you're guessing. So this is how you set it up. And then this is what we saw earlier, which was app.get. When somebody hits this, we send a hello world, I'm a secret bot. Is everybody following me? I can see a lot of confused faces. Too fast? Okay. Okay. Tell me what you want to know. I can go through it slower. That's fine. It's the index.js.
So she had another link in the
Yeah. So that's what the code is. So you will have, you'll start off with one file as a main server. As your messenger gets bigger and bigger, you'll start creating like a whole ecosystem of files. And this file will then become only a means of, like, just saying that if the user goes to this page, do this. If the user goes to another page, do this. So when you create a simple website, on the URL, you have different pages. The URL changes. It becomes user, then profile, then stuff. You don't have the same thing in a messenger, but you can deal with it by creating something called a webhook. Now, I'll explain to you what a webhook is. This is what is helping you connect to your Facebook platform. You create a webhook in your Facebook platform, and it will connect to this server. So they know that for this Facebook Messenger, I have to send the information to the server because you have a lot of Facebook messengers, chatbots. How did we get to that? I'll show you. If you go back, it teaches you how to actually set up your app. You go to Facebook developer, facebook.com. You just have to go log in and create your new app. You call it whatever you want. That's the name of your bot. That's also the name of your business page. So I would suggest be very, you can have another name for the business page, but essentially they should all connect because the users will get confused. if your bot is the same as your Facebook page. When you create this, yeah, so this is like, it's an important decision. Once you're done with this and you're inside, you have a setup option for Messenger. Since we're creating a Messenger bot, we're going to go to setup and we're going to actually generate something called a token. Now, what is this token? How does the server talk to Facebook? And how does Facebook know that your server is the right server? We're going to use a token. A token is essentially something that's being generated using your Facebook credentials. Your username and password that you use to log into the developer's console generates a secret token. So this is a secret. When I say that, I mean it should not be exposed to, like, if you give me your secret token, I can completely do havoc to your Facebook profile, your Facebook business page. So this is a secret. It has to be, and that's why you generate it once and then you store it. So if you actually read this, it says page token is required to start using the APIs, which means the platform. This page token will have all the Messenger permissions, even if your app is not approved to use them yet. Now, this is basically where Facebook is reading your data, essentially, and you can't do anything about it. You can also generate page tokens for pages you don't own using Facebook login. So you can log in, generate a token, and then have your chatbot talk to another business. There is actually an example online where there are two chatbots talking to each other. So somebody's actually built that. And it's just two Facebook pages talking to each other. So that can be done. Once you get something that is a page access token, save it. You got to literally copy it, save it somewhere, because we're going to use it in our code to hook it up to this Facebook page. It's very essential. Don't worry if you didn't do it, you can generate another one. So it's not a problem, but it's essential. Now we need to run this. I'm not an expert in curl. I don't know exactly what it means, but what we're doing here is you copy this command and you just put your page access token here and you hit enter on your command prompt. This lets Facebook know that you got your token and you've set up your thing. If you change your token and ever, you have to do this again, because essentially when your messenger tries to talk to Facebook, they will send the wrong token and Facebook will be like, no, but this doesn't work. So you need to set this up. If you don't do this, your messenger will not work. So this is essentially just, yeah.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
After you finish.
Yep.
I'm a little bit confused.
Okay.
Would the chatbot be part of Facebook Messenger or a different, separate app?
It's going to be part of Facebook Messenger, which means if I go to Facebook Messenger, I can search for your chatbot. And that is why we have to give all these permissions to Facebook, because you're giving them an ability to use the chatbots and the chatbot data that's being sent across. Yes.
I have a question based off this.
Sure.
Is there a way we could see the end product of what you're building so that we can visualize what we're doing?
I can. I have. I can show you the one that I've been working on. Do you want me to do that now?
And I think to clarify a lot.
We have a bunch of that's true.
People use your same Facebook login, or do you make a whole new Facebook?
No, use the same thing. It just makes more sense. The one that I've been working with.
So like on the other end, will it always be connected to your Facebook, or will it just be, can you detach your chat box from your personal Facebook?
You could create a business Facebook profile and then use that if you want. You could do that, but usually people want their business pages to be linked to their personal profile, because then they can market their Facebook pages. You know what I mean? Like if you have two startups and you create those business pages and you attach them, you are the owner of those business pages, then you can market those business pages using your own profile in your personal network. Does that make sense?
So you're linking your personal profile with your business.
Yeah, so that's why a lot of people have to. So for example, how Amazon CEO doesn't use his account, his profile for Amazon's chatbots. He has an Amazon account, Amazon business page, and then he uses that as the main login. So he has a different username password for that profile. And then he uses anything that happens as an interaction level using that username password. So you can do that if you want, or you can use your personal thing. It depends on really how your business is. If it's something that's more word of mouth marketing and personal marketing based, then you would probably want your messenger chatbots to be linked to your personal profile. Does that make sense? Yeah, so it's a personal decision. I've built them using my own. I'm going to be transferring it to Carl's ID because he's dealing with the health innovators, so it's going to be linked to his. And yeah, so it really is up to you how you want to do it. I just did it using mine because it made sense.
There's no point of not using Facebook platform. The whole point is that you can access 1 million people.
Yeah.
2 million people.
I think it helps you leverage your personal network if you do it that way. Because like whenever I create a page, like when I created this health innovation, so this is a health innovators test part. When I created this, it was notified in my network that I created it. So it's almost like Facebook did the publicity for you. They just had a pop-up saying, Niveta created a new page, why don't you go check it out? Let's say 2 people go there. They'll hit message. They start using the chatbot without me having to do anything. Does it make sense? Yep.
So that's the chatbot exactly how it looks like. So you're basically talking with someone else.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. So it's not very, very progressive right now because we're still dealing with the data. But what we're essentially trying to do, the small use cases that you hit get started. This is your, what do you call, your buzzword. This is what gets the conversation started. Okay, and then this is what the chatbot says. Nice to meet you. What do you like to do today? Find a facility near me, or about me, which is about the chatbot. He selected find. So I selected find a facility. Now this is a dumb bot. There is no typing. I clicked find a facility near me. The bot asked for enter your US zip code. I entered my zip code and I got this. This is essentially cards. And you can hit visit website and it'll take you to the website.
So when you say please enter the
zip code,
does it like search for all the users GPS?
So that can be done as well. If you're on a system which has the GPS location on, that can be done. You can also add a call button. So if you're on a phone, you can have a call service. So if you want, like for example, here we have visit website. We can also do call, and it will sense when it's on a mobile device that you can call directly. On a Windows, you can't, for example. So you can code for that. It can be absolutely done. Do you have a question? Okay.
Call and message?
I think yes, a message, but I don't know if Facebook would let you do SMS. It would force you to use Messenger.
Oh, okay.
But it is possible. So you can hook that up.
Okay, so I have a question. This is essentially how to make a chatbot live in 1 hour. How long does it actually take to write a code for a dumb chatbot like this?
It took me, once I knew what I was doing, which is what I'm trying to get you guys on board with, it took me 30 minutes to write this code.
For this bot?
Yeah. Okay. So, and the best part about this is that, for example, these cards you're seeing, if you need to use them 10 times in your code, you only need to write the code once. So you're actually saving on a lot of time. And I'll show you how Facebook makes it even easier for you because they're giving you all the code for it. So they're actually giving you the code. They're telling you pick this up, paste it in your code, and just change the things you want, and you're done. This is pretty cool. Yeah.
Where did the database come from the hospital?
Yeah, so I have used MLab, which is what I was talking about. And we are using an existing database, which is a facilities database that Carl found out about. And we use that. I converted everything to Mongo, put it in my Mongo database, and I get it from there. The way you would do it is that if you're using a public database, they would give you something like an API. What an API is essentially is a web, it's like a link to hit. You would hit that link and get information from there like you were dealing with any database. So either you build your own or you get access to somebody else's database.
When you're building your own, for your own business, it's your information, it's your data that you're putting in. So you're building your own database.
Yep. So like, let's say, for example, you have, you want to keep a track of the users that have been using your stuff. That's your own data. So you're not going to get that anywhere else. You're going to build it in your system so that...
I was referring to the questions that they can hit on and then the responses. That's all stuff that I'm going to be creating.
Sure.
Right?
So that's all stuff that you get to create.
That's chart format. So
Yes. So that's again what you create and you decide what direction it goes into. Yep. You have a question? Okay. So let me come down to explaining how the chatbot actually looks like so we have a better idea of what's going on. The first thing we do this is the beginning part is what I already spoke about. It's just set up. You can literally copy this and paste it. It will work because this is really just all you're doing is getting the things you want and setting them up to work. The important part comes here, which is where you're checking whether the two tokens are matching or not. You have a token already for your system, right? And you're checking if that is equal to the token that you generated. If it's not, you have to send a response saying wrong token. This is basically a layer of security that's being added.
Is this like the private and the private?
Yes, so your token is always private. It's always private. It is only known by you and Facebook because they generated it, but Facebook encrypts it also. So they also don't know your token technically. It's completely private. A prop file is nothing but a basic, it's just a file which holds how Heroku will run your server. When we will actually host our server on Heroku, because Heroku needs to run it so that it is available for everybody, you just need to put this in. This is the name of your file. If you decide to name your file something else, you need to change this. And as you can see, it's using Node to run. Heroku is completely integrated with Node. So it works completely. This is how you would push to Heroku. This is how you're getting anything working on Heroku. You init, which is what we did. We get init. Add. Now what is add? Any change you made in this folder will be added to the push that you're doing. Commit is essentially just the staging stage. So it went from your computer to a commit stage. And as soon as you would do push, it would reach Heroku. Does that make sense? Is it too it is technical, I know, but we got to do it. I mean, you know, if you want it to be working, we got to do it. When you hit Heroku create, it creates a Heroku app for you. That's one way to do it. You can go to heroku.com where you have a username password and you can create an app with the name that you want. So you can actually select Niveta Mittal. Maybe you would not get nivetamittal.com because I'm pretty sure it exists, but you can create something better than, because these guys create a bunch of, like, I'll show you what I have. It's really random things, like they're landing. It's just really random. So that's a good way to kind of, yeah. So can you see these are all, so it's called Ancient Plains, Radiant Mountain. So these are random names. So you can just call them better stuff. Now you've got your Facebook app up, you've got your basic server running. Now what do? Now we need to start dealing with the data that you were saying, the code. It's really simple code. This is essentially what it is. That's it. This is essentially the logic behind anything else you will write. All this does is that this is basically getting what the user sent you. This is the request. .body, which is the body of the request. The entry, which is essentially everything inside the body. If the user used a lot of like essentially different parts of the body. So for example, if the user gave you back a lot of things, which is an array. Do you understand what an array is? An array is a collection of information. Instead of just one paragraph, it could be a lot of things inside. .messaging. So this is how you are getting a list of all the message that the user sent you. And then we run a for. What is a for? For folks who don't understand, what you're doing is for every entry that exists, we are going to do these things. That's all a for means. So for I beginning at 0, I less than the length of the messages that we just got, which means if the messages are 10, you'll do it from 0 to 9, I plus plus. So do it every time for every message that we got. Event is the message. So we got the first message. Sender is the sender ID. Now this is very important. If somebody is trying to hack into your bot, their sender ID would change. So when people are building really secure bots, they do double check the sender ID from the first time that the conversation started to just keep track that the sender remains the same throughout the conversation. It also helps you take care of things like the network fell, for example. I started talking to them and then my network broke. And then when I reconnected, somebody else actually logged into Facebook and that was hung for whatsoever reason. These kind of confusions. So it's a good way to have a detail of which sender sent you which information. If you're using AI, you would have the user specific database that we spoke about. That could be linked to the sender ID. That's a great way to keep it.
Is this checking the sender ID right now?
It's not. This is not doing it right now, but you can do it when you're looking for something that is more transactional. So if you're getting credit cards and somebody's network breaks, you would check for sender ID because that's where it's important. Here it doesn't.
Using Facebook Messenger, though, do you need to be verifying identity with the server, or does Facebook communicate that information with the message?
It is, so this is what is coming with the message. This is actually what is coming with the message, but it's a good way to figure out that there has been no attack. Do you know what I mean? So there's an injection attack, which is essentially somebody else trying to inject something else. And while they're doing it, their sender ID would override this sender ID. So if you got a different sender ID in the middle of a conversation, you know somebody's tried to compromise your conversation. I mean, again, you're not going to really be using banking stuff on this so much, but you could have credit card details if somebody is buying things off you. It could be a good way to check. So the first time that somebody hits, like somebody gets in touch with you, you would store the sender ID and put it in a database. And then from every time else that somebody talks to you, you come back and you keep checking whether that and this is the same. So I can show you how to do it, but that requires database code, so that we can do later. But it's essentially just hitting the database, getting the ID, and comparing it. What we do after that is just essentially check that it is a text message. And if it is a text message, you send another text message to the user just saying that receive this text and send them the text that they send you. So that's all this is doing right now. If I say hello, it says hello back. That's it. But it's doing something. We're getting the information. Now we got to play with the information. How do we do that? We are going to deal with that by using a bunch of different ways. You can customize what the bot says based on a lot of templates that Facebook gives you. Facebook gives this to you. So if you come here, this is Facebook for developers. I'll put the link out. It basically gives you many ways to talk to this thing. So they have something which is called a button template, which is essentially what I showed you. It's a button. You can define the kind of buttons you want. And this looks really complicated. It's not. It's essentially, it is a template. So you can copy it off Facebook, paste it here, and only change what the text, the button says. So this is equal to this. And then inside, how many ever buttons you want, you put this same thing here, change the URL. So when the button hits, when somebody hits the button, what URL is reached and what it says, that's it. So you're essentially just going to copy this and paste it. You're doing nothing else. And this would work for as many buttons as you want. So if you want to give them a lot of options to start with, you start off with this. And then there's something called generic, which is also like that, but it is the kind of information that I showed you. It's a slider of lists. So if you have, like, for example, we had a list of facilities. You're using horizontal space because it's better on a phone. So you would go with that. And in this case, you would have this inside the elements.
Horizontal is better for cards because it's so natural to
swipe. Yeah. Yep. I think even on the computer, I mean, we're using horizontal here. It does look better. Like if we get a picture of the facility, you put it here. It's a better looking thing. Because if you keep scrolling, you lose context of your conversation. You forgot what you were talking about. So, and Facebook's been really smart because they've designed this for you. You don't have to design anything. They've written the code for you. So you just have to put the things that you want to be displayed inside. And yep. So this is a generic template. Again, it's essentially just repetition of the same thing. And Facebook is giving you the code for it. We do have a list template, which would be a list of things like this. So if you're selling something, you could use this. It's ready to use. Pick it up, change what you need to change, respond. Now, if you're wondering how would you know when to send what, the way you do it normally is that if you had a button template the first time and the user selected a specific button, you would get that value in your response. And if the response was equal to that button, show them this. If the response was equal to another button, you show them the previous list. So it's literally as easy as that. I can show you my code that I have for the, oh, it's not on this, wait. Okay, I'll show it to you. I'll show you how I wrote the if, else. So yeah, see, here it is. All he did is that if the text is equal to generic, this is any word you can use, then you send this, otherwise you send a text message. And here is where you're going to define what goes in. So send generic message is essentially just this function which Facebook is giving to you. So you copy it from their website, paste it here, right under this code, right here. You paste it right here. And you do whatever you want here and send it in. So you're not really having to type a lot of code. And that's exactly why it doesn't take you a very long time to set it up. Because Facebook is giving you everything. You just need to know where to manipulate what. And once your chatbot grows, then you start making it more composable. So you don't want to keep writing this. Like I wouldn't want to keep writing this again and again. So then what do you do? Let me show you how I do.
The time-consuming thing is figuring out your decision trees.
Yeah, so that's and if you do that well in the beginning, it saves you so much time, because otherwise it can be so haphazard and so confusing later on. Because things grow really quickly, right? I mean, one button example would have 4 buttons. That's 4 completely different trees. And then from there, if you have 4 more buttons, then you've just completely exploded. So you need to figure out what you're going to be doing where. So if you see my code, this is the code for the health thing that I just showed you. And here, if you see, I've actually narrowed it down to things like yes, yes, yes. You can check for all values of yes, you know?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there any, does that, you were talking about the framework.
Yep, the Facebook.
Does that do this?
No, so you have to write this code.
Code this as yes.
Yeah, you have to code it.
Okay.
Because this is the part that Facebook has left to you, but they've still provided you the templates for it. So they've still kind of helped you by giving you, like, can you see here? This is the button message. This is, I just copy pasted this from Facebook's developer page. I didn't write this. Code in mine.
You're saying there's not then something that you can program in here that will be able to interpret simple text, not like that's like a basic NLP.
You could do basic NLP, yes, because Facebook gives you the basic NLP, but you will still have to code it here. So you're still going to have to do your own, like if you want to go in a specific direction, you're still going to have to do, if this happens, do this. You're still going to have to do that.
So if you want to accept text responses, you'll
Yep.
have to code out every single potential
Possibility. Is there, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
For example, it's natural language, and like there's so many ways you can say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes could be.
Yeah.
Oh,
Correct.
yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
And you have to manually.
So
code
there
out,
is Facebook's NLP, this thing. I haven't used it.
But you could use.
You could
something
use
like
it. You would have to write very little code compared to that. Like you could do like, you know, a umbrella of words and be able to know which direction you're going to, like you're saying. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, a, whatever. All of those would fall in one umbrella. So Facebook would provide that umbrella for you, but they don't give you the extensive NLP that an AI framework would give you, because that's where the money comes in, really. So Facebook's not going to give it to you for free. They're giving you too much for free anyway. Like the whole thing is there for you to just pick up and use.
So most of the chatbots are card-based.
Yes, right now. I mean, I tried a lot of chatbots when Carl told me. I just like enrolled for like 5-10 of them. It's like, let me see what they do. They're all card-based, most of them.
Card-based?
Card-based. So the cards that I showed you.
No actual text. You just click buttons. It's not actually chatting at
It's
all.
exactly cards.
Or
So these are called
yes,
card-based.
Yes, no,
Click,
or
clickbot.
Yeah, it's like a clickbot.
yeah.
It's not a chatbot, but it's still, I think a lot of people also like this because they don't want to communicate. You know what I mean? They want somebody else to tell them what they're thinking and just get to the point. It's really funny, but it is like that.
So you don't need conversation. You just
Yeah.
need-
So it's really just a
Getting a bit of
paradigm.
information, then decide whether you need conversation.
Okay.
And that, there's another step for that at the end of that flow chart. Do you want to talk to representative?
Yeah, exactly. So that can absolutely be done.
You
Yep.
send you the number, you just click on the number and it calls.
Yeah, so you can have a call button in that, and then like I said, in JavaScript, it's pretty easy to figure out whether the machine you're using is a mobile device or a phone, and then you can have a call button show up. So Facebook is also going to help you with that. They take care of it. You don't have to worry about it. They have the code for that as well.
So they let you do the platform.
No, so you make the call through Facebook Messenger. There's a Facebook call. Facebook never lets you leave this thing. I've tried. They'll do everything possible. I started texting my mom on Facebook Messenger in the middle, and I didn't realize I was using Messenger except the blue, but it didn't strike me. And then I realized that we were not on our WhatsApp group, we were on our Facebook Messenger. They just don't want you to leave. A couple of other things they do is that they do things like a receipt template. So there's an existing template for a receipt for your business. This exists. Copy this up, fill it up with information that your database is coming up with or your third-party retailer is coming up with. So this is literally just going to be variables that you'll get back from them from the database and just put it here, ready to use. There's a boarding pass template that you can use to fly. See, this is actually something that I've seen a lot of people use now. Yeah, so there are chatbots for most of our airlines now. They'll actually give you these templates, these boarding passes on your.
Yeah, and I have one in my Apple Wallet. So.
Right, so that's there, but they also have chatbots on Messenger, so that you can use it there also. There's a check-in template. This is Kayak has this. Kayak shows you this once you book a flight through them. They'll remind you that you have a flight coming up. Check in using our platform. Check in using our Messenger. Itinerary template. Again, Kayak is very big on this. They have a really good Facebook chatbot messenger. And
I'm from Kayak.
oh, really? Yeah.
I'm not good at it.
Yeah, but they have a really nice. But they have really nice.
Scientists in the builders.
Nice, yeah. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm so happy I said good things. That's what I'm saying. I'm so happy I said good things. Sure. So yeah, so like I said, you can literally go to Facebook's developer page, copy the things that you want. You can do simple verifications like if the user says hello, give him this. That's it. And you can have a complete conversation. Many bots are just built on that, and they're doing fine because the user just wants engagement and wants to reach the endpoint. They just want to get to where they want to get. Yeah, and then there are ways for you to share your chatbots on your website. So if you have a website, you can have a button which says chat with my bot. If you click on it, they'll take you to a separate page where there would be your Facebook Messenger chatbot would turn up. So this is pretty cool. Facebook has given you this advantage, so you can plug it into your website and use it.
Pulling them from you to Facebook.
But you can come back. So that's, I mean, not that people leave Facebook so often once they're on it, but it's still better than building your own chatbot and deploying the whole thing on your website. Yeah. This is still a better way to go about it. And yeah, like I said, this has an entire tutorial about how to plug in an AI. WIT.ai is the best one to go with to begin with because Facebook is completely integrated. It works great. Chatbot magazines, yes. Now, when we start building chatbots, this is what I use. This is basically a messenger platform design software. You can design your entire paths. You don't actually have to build a flowchart. You could have somebody download this for Sketch and just build out the path conversations that you want as actual designs, and then code it by just looking at those. So these are great prototypes.
Great to developer.
Yeah.
Does that code it for you?
No, it doesn't. They are trying to do that though, because I know it's happening. Yeah.
I wanted to tell this later, but Chatfuel is one of the
drag and drop. Yeah. So Chatfuel exists. Chatfuel is amazing because you can drag and drop stuff and it'll make the chatbot for you. But I think the disadvantage of that is they have access to your entire code base. So do you know what I mean? They build the whole chatbot for you and you never get access to your own code. So
you don't get to see your code.
You don't get to see your code at all. They own that code. And when you start getting bigger, they make you pay for it. So
it's not like even if Facebook or this thing is doing it, it's not going to give you the code.
No, but you have the code. You are writing your own code.
So you're writing your own code, yes, but if you're just using that platform of, the flowchart to get the code done.
Yeah.
They're never going to give you the code.
No, but so that's the thing, right? The Facebook platform is showing you templates, but you have to still copy paste it into your own code. You have to write this yourself.
No, that is not true.
Sorry.
His thing was you have a platform and
the
the platform will automatically
they don't give you the code.
So there's no way ever in the future
Yeah.
that anyone was gonna create code and give code to you.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. It exists for applications also. You can drag and drop and create Android apps. Nobody gives you the code for it. And what's more painful is not really the first setup. The first setup is always easy. It's when you start making changes, because they'd only let you make 3 changes. Then they start charging you for it. Or things like that. You also are restricted in the way things can look, the way things can essentially feel, and just how they interact.
So if you would be you would be to code a little bit.
Yep.
And you are a beginner.
Yep.
Starting a new business.
Yep.
So for which way would you start?
I think this is not a bad way, because Facebook is giving you the essential logic code. So you can, if you really just spend 10 minutes understanding what this did, which is not that hard. It's doing nothing. I'll be very honest, a lot of us here are programmers, and even we don't know the insides of what this is doing. We just know you have to put it here, and it works. And I know why it works a little bit, but you don't think about it so much. You just literally just take it. Like, you get ready-made templates. When you create any Node.js server, you get this ready. Just copy it and paste it. So you're not that far behind, really. Like, I'm not kidding. It's really just that. And yeah, and then this rest of it, I think the logic is only coming where you're doing the checks. If this is equal to this, else if this is equal to this. And then we have postbacks. I didn't talk about postbacks. Postbacks are any interaction that the user has with the cards. That's called a postback because it's not a text. So we had event.message.text, and then we have event.postback. So postback, the advantage of a postback is that when the user clicks a button, you know exactly what you're getting back because you defined it in the button. When you created the card, you actually created what payload it is. And what this means is essentially what you're getting back. So when you check it, you know what you're expecting, which is the whole point of using a card system, because you know what you're getting back. And in that case, okay, if this happened, do this. It's as simple as that. Yeah, but that's how you kind of drive them,
This solves the text issue that you don't have to process any. You don't have to look
when you're doing cards. Yep.
You're only looking for replies from the card, so it's
yeah. And in that also, so there's another layer to this, which I'm working on for this right now, which is what people do is that every response they get, they push into the database. Now, why would you do that? It helps you store context of where you are in the conversation. Are you in the beginning? What the user said before you send them this postback, and now you have what they said after. So you're able to place where the conversation is and what you want to do about it. So it helps you keep track of time. It helps you keep track of so many things, because based on what happened before and what is happening now, you might want to go in a different direction as opposed to before. So that's another way to do it. Every time you get a response, just connect to a database and just keep pushing it. Everything is going to be on top of each other. It's ordered that way. And then as soon as you get the topmost and you have the current, you know where you are. So I have to do that for my case because my chatbot doesn't realize when the conversation is over. And if the user wants to restart the conversation, I don't have the get started button because I don't know that the user wants it. So I have to keep, track of that we finished the end of our conversation. Maybe I should have a get started button now. So I have to do that. So that's a good way to do it. The code for this is on this. The index.js for this is completely on the tutorial. You can see what the only important things here are the index.js and the proc file. And the whole tutorial explains to you how to do it. It really doesn't take you a lot of time because you have to copy paste most of it. And then you start changing it and making it more intense. The Windows tutorial is pretty much the same, except just the configuration in the beginning. That's the only difference. Everything else remains the same. The language is the same. The code is the same, so you can use the same files. You don't have to change anything about it. One thing that does happen is you have to use your token that you generated. This is different for everyone. So we actually define it in a variable at the beginning. Here, when we check this token, we're going to store it in a variable in the top. You can see it in the index.js. So that should be fine. That's all. You're done. So if you take this code, do the configuration in the beginning, get your token, hook it up to this, push it to Heroku, and go to your Facebook page and hit message. It should work.
So this code is telling me to say hello world to anybody who says.
No, so hello world is what the server is saying and printing in itself. It's not actually going to go all the way to Facebook. I didn't actually, the way this code works, it doesn't go all the way to make a request, to make a response to Facebook, you actually have, so what this is, it says response.send hello world. This doesn't really reach the client. We never actually reach the user here. We just said response.send, but just by saying response.send, the conversation does not, the message does not get passed. This is basically like a display on the side. So on the server logs, you will be able to see hello world, I'm a chatbot has started. How do you actually send something across is you're going to do, yes, this is again Facebook's code. It's available. You're making a response. You're making a response body to the user, and you're putting in it whatever you wanted to put in it. So you wanted to put the message that you have in the message data. You have a recipient, which is the ID of the sender that you got, and you have your access token, which is the token that you saved. That's it. And this remains the same. This is the Facebook platform. So this will always remain the same. You send these things to the, now why is it a request? Let me just tell you, it's in a request. Can you see it's in a request object? Because you're making a request. So what, look at it this way. This user sent a request to you, and now you have a response ready, and you make that request to the Facebook platform, who then sends it to the user. Does that make sense? Because Facebook is the mediator in the middle. You can't directly talk to the client directly. So that's what's happening here. And it's all on Facebook developer page. So any questions?
Function calls, like how does it exactly happen?
When you said function calls?
How do you make request calls and stuff?
Sitting in the webhook.
Okay. Oh yeah, that I can talk about.
But I'm talking about
the JavaScript of it. I know, that's the thing, right? But if I get into that, then that becomes another, I can talk about it for a couple of weeks. I studied for a couple of weeks for my interviews, no, the whole, like, but yeah. I can do that if people want to wait. I can do that for another 15 minutes. Talk about. Yeah.
What are you asking?
Like the.
How exactly does the whole thing work?
Like how is it connected together?
Where? Like probably once you start getting into the code, you'll probably get.
It'll make a lot of sense to you, because what's going to happen is, can you see here? I'm calling something. It says send text message. What is send text message? You've actually written a function called send text message, where you've written exactly what you want to send. And this function was given to you by Facebook. You copy pasted it. But you customize it by putting things that you wanted in it, the way you wanted it. So that's what she's talking about. How is the flow of the like, because this is your main thing, and this is using all these functions. Can you see? We're using all of this inside one function, which is only doing, if this happens, call this function. If this happens, call this function. If this happens, call this function. And we've broken it down. This is exactly where modularity comes into play, because you don't write essentially the same code again and again. You write the same code once. So my text message code is just once. Anytime I want to send a text, I will give them the text that I want to send here. It could be 5 times you want to send text. Every time you would send a different word here. Hello, hi, how you doing? You can send it anything you want, because this is a variable, so it can change its values. And so this code can be used for all the text communication in your thing. You don't have to write it 20 times. Does that make sense?
For me, I've downloaded the, I've installed the
Node.js.
Node.js.
Awesome.
And then before this step,
yep.
What are you supposed to do before?
What's the first step?
So you download and configure everything. That's the first thing. So it's if you go to the this thing, you gotta
because we have the notch and
Node.js command prompt open. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So we gotta download Node.js. We gotta download Visual Studio for Windows, I would suggest you download it because you're not used to it. So it would make things easier for you to use. And then GitHub, sign up for this. I'd written that because you need the Git account.
One question: Are
Yeah.
these systems only available in the US?
No.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
So.
It doesn't matter though because you will put it on Heroku here. I'm sorry, I know you've been waiting. You deploy them in the US and it's just like a website which can be used everywhere in the world. So it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah. Mostly, right? I mean, except, okay, China, yeah. But I mean, yeah, they block Google, so what can you do? Even India, for example, like Facebook Messenger chatbots, Messenger itself, it's on a light version in India. It doesn't use the regular Messenger app. So I don't know how chatbots are doing in India. I'm pretty sure they're doing well. It's a big market, but I don't know if the coding for it, the coding will not change. I'm pretty sure.
So
everything.
First the notch, then command prompt, and then the gift with Visual Studio, you said?
Yes, Visual Studio, GitHub. So GitHub, you just have to sign in. You don't have to actually. And then Heroku, you got to sign in and then download both. So you can actually see the.
Okay, command prompt, Visual Studio, GitHub, and Heroku.
Yeah, you can see this on. This is there. You can
okay.
you don't have to worry.
Okay.
This is completely there. So
Okay.
I'm not going to rush you through it. Yes, tell me.
I have 3 short questions.
Go for
I'll
it.
Start with the first.
Go for it.
Is there a way I allow users to pre-order things and pay for it?
Yes.
On this?
Yes. Facebook gives you a way to do transactions.
Cool.
Yep.
Another question.
Yep. They're doing it
check
for you.
the ID over again, right?
And Facebook is also doing stuff for you. They're providing you ways to where did that go?
Because wasn't that your first point?
Yeah, but they're also doing it. So they're also providing a separate gateway to make payments. So the payment will not happen in the Facebook Messenger. It'll open a third-party page where the payment will happen. So that saves it.
So it doesn't go on. Okay.
It's not going through Facebook's portal.
What about the?
But the third party will have you.
But that happens anyway. You enter your details, right?
Someone has to have it.
Yeah, someone has to have it. Yeah.
Is there a tool I can see the statistics of the users? What they are
Analytics, yes. This does it for you. So you go into your apps, and then you have multiple apps. So let's take. I don't even know if.
Oh, that was my question. How do you make your app like private before?
It is private by default, so it's not public right now. When you want to make it public, on the tutorial that I've sent you, there is a way to make it public when you are happy with how it's going. But at the same time, even though it's private, your friends can search for the specific name and find it. So when I say it's private, it means that it is not available in the list of chatbots that Facebook is providing to people. But you can still search for the specific name and use it because that's how you are talking to the chatbot. It's not hidden.
So when you're still doing work on it, everybody can see that you're
If
working
they know the
on it.
name of it and everything.
Well,
Like,
they know the name once you like log onto your Facebook
If you
and
don't
say,
say
I'm working
to
on
anyone,
chatbot.
no, they only get the
creating a
name of the
chatbot.
page.
They will know.
But I mean, I don't think so. Like nobody went. I had only 2 people check it out, and that was because they knew I was working on it. Like
It's
you
a
know,
specific name.
yeah, it's a very specific
Like,
name. Like
find it by
It's the
random.
same name as like if you had a business page. No.
yeah, but
It's
it's
like a
not. Yes, but it's not going to be like you know how when you like a page, Facebook displays that she liked a page. It's not that. It doesn't happen that many times. It's not going to come on people's feed that often. That is a different algorithm that pushes it. It's just once. Just to let people know that you made a page. They don't even tell you that they made a messenger chatbot. They just say you made a page.
Oh.
That's it. And then you can get into the marketing of it, and there's ways to do it. Okay.
But if it says you made a page, then it will say the name of the page.
Yes.
Which can be the same.
But that's just once. So that's what I'm saying, that anytime you make a page on Facebook, it does that. Anyway, it has to do that. It's trying to get more people encouraged to make pages. Nothing. Yes.
A chatbot, it's not separate from the messenger. Right?
No.
So every time a customer wants to reach me,
Yep.
they have to go to my page and go to messages, right?
Yes. Or
So there's no way that I can send them a link.
you can.
Put it.
There is a link that you can share. There is a button that you can put on your website.
Awesome.
You can do all of that. Facebook gives you all
Other
of that.
websites can use it also.
Yeah. Yeah, can be done.
But they'll have to come to Facebook.
Yeah, it will come on the button click, but it is a point of starting, you know. And so that is all done. So they take care of everything for you. This is this analytics. Can you see? So these are all just me in these one user. But yeah, so so yeah, so you have country specific information. You have active login users. They're really trying to make it a platform that is engaging and that people want to be a part of. And the more you use it and the more you review it, the more it will get better, because they need people on board to be able to really, you know, thing it, because they're collecting data and they're trying to make it better, but only when people use it will they be able to, you know, really fix things for you if they're not working or whatever. So yeah, so there is this. And can you see the app secret? That's your token. So it's hidden. So it gets lost once you've this thing. And so it's better to kind of, yep.
What do you, what, if something goes wrong, I mean, if you have already, I don't know, something just screwed up.
Like in the code?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you get rid of the chat box if you want, if you want to start a new one?
Oh.
Okay. I would suggest if you want a new one, why don't you just erase all the code you wrote and push it to Heroku? So the new one will just be an empty bot.
Wow. Okay.
And since you're using GitHub, you will have version control, which means you'll have the previous version that you wrote in case you want to go back to it.
Oh.
Like, why create another chatbot? Because what's that going to do is that's going to, so it's very important for us to build the bots, but not litter the space with a lot of bots, because those are bad bots. And if somebody comes in this thing with them, they'll be like, oh, you know, it's a user's platform. So let's not create bad quality bots. Like my chatbot right now, all the ones that I have, I'm going to delete the ones that I'm not going to build. And this health inno one, I'm going to like transfer it to Cal, put it on his profile. So I'm not going to keep any of them on this thing, because none of them are my chatbots, because I don't want to litter the space with bad quality work. I think that's a personal thing. That's really up to us to kind of handle and deal with. So yeah, any other questions? Can you, like, do you think, I mean, I hope you learned something and you get, yeah, and like clarity. Like I said, there is really not a lot of coding involved. It's the most closest you can get to a beginner level, because I do realize there is technical, but that's just how it is. Until you start, you know, using something like Chatfuel or whatever, but then you don't have the independence of your code. Yeah, so I'm open to questions. You can email me if you want.
So for adding the webhook.
Yeah, yes, good question. So I spoke about the webhook, which is essentially what we're using to figure out that what our app is and how that is happening. I'll show it to you. So I don't have the image for it. Okay. Essentially what you're doing is, where's my Facebook developer page? I'll update the tutorial with that image. I have that image. What basically happens is when you're in your, when you're going to your app. So this is what the Facebook developers looks like. It's very nice looking console. Let me show you. You log in and it shows you everything. You can build all of these. So you can actually build a lot of stuff. I haven't explored it myself, but it's pretty amazing. So this is a list of all your apps, which is essentially anything that you've created. You go to any bot, and when you're in a bot, you actually have something called Messenger. When you go into Messenger, you'll have a token generation. This is, I already showed you this, and then you have something called set up a webhook. This is where we're going to put our Heroku app that we created. When you create a Heroku app, it gives you that URL. That comes here. That's the webhook. Yeah, so that's the webhook. That is essentially the URL that Facebook will use to communicate with your server.
With the webhook slash.
It'll come on its own. So whenever you type something here, it will put, wait, this is not going to work. Can you see this? I do this. When you start doing things, okay, it puts it on its own. I don't know why it's not happening. It will put webhook on its own. Yeah, this is, no. So I think this is because I've already used it. But when you type something, it knows you're not adding webhook, so it will put it for you. It will essentially show up like this on its own. It doesn't, you know what to look out for it, but it does it for you. So this is the URL that it's going to hit. And this is your token. These are all the permissions that you're using. So you have access to your messages post packs, which are the button clicks, messages opt-ins, which are, again, this is too much detail, but it's essentially just understanding how much information you want about the message that the user is interacting with. So you will have message reads. You can access if the message has been read. You can access if it's on standby, messaging payments. Is it a payment kind of a message? Has the message been delivered? So depending on how excessive your chatbot is, you may want to react every time the user has read your message. That's a great way to do it. So you select all of this, verify and save. If your Heroku is working correctly and your token is correct, both of them.
One question. What can be considered as a token?
So this is, I spoke about this earlier. You generate your token.
Okay.
You have to actually create. So you'll select the page you want. And then it'll ask you for permissions. Give it permissions. What just happened? And it generates a token for you. It's a random bunch of numbers that are secret to your app and should be kept away from everyone else.
Okay.
So you copy it.
So that's kind of the main.
It's like the main thing that's authenticating that your messenger is different from somebody
So
else's.
if a hacker would attack you, they would.
Yeah, so they would try to get this, but they would not get this because.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I only remember I like the first 20.
Yeah. This, yes.
Can you give an example of a messaging referral?
The message?
The messaging referral, what would that be?
I don't know what the messaging referral is. I've never used it. We can check it out. Like I said, we have everything here. So this is the referral. So this is telling you how the user got to your bot. This is useful for what you asked. If the user comes from a button on your website that you wrote, you will know that that's where he came from. If he comes from the link you send them, he would know that he comes from the link that you send them. So this is a way to find out how the user reached your messenger using Botway.
So there is a user tracking code.
Yes, that Facebook is doing. They're providing a very, very thorough. So as you can see,
that can be used for analytics primarily.
Yeah, how many times they came from your website, how many times they came from the Facebook page.
So then you can target the audience.
And where the market's
coming
where the
from,
market
and
is.
talk
Yep.
to them more.
Yep. So yeah.
Can you connect it to HubSpot so you can make your spam chain?
I don't know if you can do that. I'm sure it's possible. I'm sure this is the space where this is happening already. This is the payment. It's in the beta phase right now, but it does exist. Like it says, you need to ask for request. So, but I know that it's being used by Tommy Hilfiger. It's being used by, I think Macy's is using it also to sell stuff. Kayak is using it to sell tickets. So it's being used essentially to buy stuff. Yeah, so you got a lot of things that they're giving you, and they give you all the code for it also. So essentially, when you come to this page, you will have something called sample code, and it's all there. You just pick it and you paste it. So, and what's going to happen is, as you go through it, you will actually start understanding what they're talking about, because it's really just, it's not very, like, coding can get very confusing and very convoluted, but unless you try to write your own artificial intelligence, it's not that difficult. Do you know what I mean? Like in the messenger chatbot way. So yeah, I really hope that it was helpful and you guys got an idea what to do. If you take like 30-40 minutes on a Sunday and just sit down with the tutorial that I've given you and just follow it, it will work. That's how I started. That's what I did first time that I did it, and it worked. You just got to be, and there's a lot of information out there. So if you find an error that you get, just copy it, put it in Google. Stack Overflow gets back to you with tons of answers. And if you can't figure it out, send me an email. I'll try to help you out. Not kidding. I respond.
And bot or you?
Me. I will respond. That's why I said you can email me. Don't hit me up on Facebook Messenger. Then we don't know. But yeah, so any other questions? I think we're close to being done. So it's good.
Really good.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so happy to. Great. So let me figure this out.